everyone. My name's AJ Akpodiete, but you can call me AJ for short.
And my name is Kristen Case.
And welcome to the PassionFruit Project, where we talk about living your passions,
bearing fruit,
and glorifying God. Oh man, look, guys. I don't know how to tell you this, but as you can see, you probably can't tell yet, but we've leveled up the the settings and whatnot. Kristen, they're probably wondering, where have they been? You know, everyone's lives has probably been so boring without the PassionFruit Project, right?
Yeah. I mean, where did we go? We just kind of like deserted or something.
It's really embarrassing. I was at work and I literally stood up to answer a kid's question, and I had my laptop plugged in, and I tripped over my laptop cord, broke the laptop, hard drive dead. Literally everything that I had made and had saved on that computer was gone. And so we had to rebuild everything. And then Kristen and I just both got really busy and stuff. But now we're back. And my laptop's about to die too, so I'm gonna grab my charger. But we're yeah, it's been a while, but it feels good to be back recording and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's really great to be back. Actually, funny, when I found out about his laptop, actually, I was doing a podcast little mini show for my radio class, and I was doing my coffee rating, and I was in the car, and just AJ is like sending this long message, and he's just like calling me, and he's like, Kristen, my hard drive is broke. I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. And so we had that, and then I'm still in school, so I was in between that with like my midterms and my finals, and it just got very crazy. And then AJ's been doing some stuff too. He's making some moves I see out here.
Oh man, that's what they say. That's what they say. So I mean, but Kristen, it's been a wild ride, and I think it's just gonna get wilder from here. We're coming towards the end, the final stretch. Season 1 is coming to a close. We got today, and then the final episode after this one. And you know what? We figured, why not go out with a bang? Have our last 2 guests be some of the latest and the greatest. And today, you know what? Ooh, man. We've got the legendary, the illustrious,
the line dancing.
The line dancing. She's always ready. Got the tank full. She's taken, but you know she still pulls. I shouldn't have said that. She's always grateful. Favorite animal is the one she was raised by, the wolves. Oh man, we got Lexi Noelle in the building.
Whoop, whoop. Hello. I love that introduction. I was laughing so much before I even showed on the screen. Thank you so much. You guys are so sweet. Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me tonight. This is really fun. Oh my goodness.
We're thankful to have you.
Yes.
It's been interesting. You know, I think maybe even from the beginning of this podcast, we've wanted to have Lexi Noelle on, right, Kristen?
Yeah, I feel like even when we started having our first couple episodes in, I remember when, you know, AJ and I were originally starting to really like talk about and planning out the show, he always was mentioning about you, especially just because our relationship, I think, and people know, is like Lexi and I are really great friends, and also you're really great friends with AJ, but in such different ways, but also in ways that are so complementary. So it's like, why not have somebody who really just intertwines, but in a different way than we've had than any other of the guests we've had so far. So I'm excited.
Yep. So Lexi Noelle, Lexi Noelle Music on Instagram, Lexi Noelle on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Tidal, for all y'all audiophiles out there that use Tidal. You know, I don't have a Tidal subscription. I don't have money like that. But you do a lot of things. Like you're a recording artist, a producer. You're like if someone took me and Kristen and combined us into one person. That's like you, because you're also a filmmaker.
Yes, exactly. I do so much.
I guess kind of tell everyone listening what you do. Tell them your version of what you do, and maybe a little bit of why you do it.
Okay, I will put this together. So basically, my main passion is songwriting and filmmaking. I've been video editing since I was 10 years old. So it started off with me picking up a little camcorder, you know, those little flippy cameras. And
oh yeah.
I would just film with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And I would like not know I didn't know what a hard drive was when I was 10 years old. So I didn't know how to save any of my stuff. So literally the oldest videos I have are back from like in 2012, 2013, even though I picked up my first camcorder. It was literally a camcorder in like 2009. Singing, I've been singing since I was like a wee little lad, very tiny little girl. I grew up singing in choir my whole life. I've been private school educated my whole life. One of my most highlighted singing memories would be in the 10th grade. I got to sing at Carnegie Hall with my choir. We were an all-female choir, and we got to sing with like 99 other singers. There was like 100 of us. It was so fun. And then flash forward 2 years, I was a senior in high school, and I got to perform at the wonderful Vatican in Italy. It was so beautiful. It was just, oh my gosh, it was cold, but it was really awesome. And you could hear the acoustics in all the churches and the venues were made of pure marble. So when you would sing anything, you would hear your voice just go on forever. It was really cool. So I thought I'd share that as a little context. And now I've met the beautiful Kristen and the amazing AJ through, I'm actually like not sponsoring, but representing Cal Lutheran University is our college we went to and are currently going to. And that's when I decided I wanted to be a music production major and a songwriter at the same time, because since Cal Lutheran doesn't have a songwriting major, I went for what I think would be the most beneficial for me, which is learning all the audio engineering effects on how to make music and record. As you can see, I have a little setup here. You can't really see it with my camera, but I have my little interface here. I have my monitors. I have a piano here. And I've been writing songs and movie scripts for a long time too. I just finally decided to put out something this year. Yeah. So I have a single that has been out since September 4th of this year, 2020, which has been a very rough year for all of us. But I wrote a song last year. It's called Hunger. And I really think that if you haven't heard it already, please give it a listen. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. Like AJ said, it's on every platform, which is really awesome. And I'm just so happy that you guys have had me on the show. It just means so much to me that I get to talk about my passion. So
Totally. And we'll definitely get to Hunger in a little bit. But yeah, it's crazy because I think it wasn't until like I knew that you were like we had known each other, and I knew you were a production major, and like we'd seen each other and operate in the studio a couple times. But I think it wasn't until like 2 semesters ago that I started to like when we had music business together. Like I didn't know that you were like nice with it like that. Like I didn't know you were like you were like a singer. Like you were like really talented. And you know, I think a lot of the production that you've been doing, especially since quarantine started, has been on a whole nother level.
Oh yes, no, quarantine has had, personally, I feel anyone who's either an artist, whether they're a painter or a singer, have really been taking advantage of this quarantine time to really make some hit songs. I have a lot of inspirations like Halsey, like Evanescence, and there's just a ton of artists out there that are still writing right now as we speak, that are still putting out new songs straight from their bedroom, straight from their house and in their home studios. Because it used to not be like this back in the day. And AJ and I were in the music industry business courses, and we learned about how the music industry has evolved over time. And I think that is really intriguing, because it's really important to know how technology and everything has really evolved it. Considering we're able to have a podcast on Zoom is very intriguing. for your show. So I think it's really cool that I can record a song literally in this room. You can record it like anywhere. It sucks that we can't go to we can't really go to a studio right now because of COVID, but once post-pandemic and everything is clear and safe, my goal is to professionally record in studios in LA and get my feet wet with learning, more about the music industry. I just love it so much. It's really, really fun. So that's just my opinion on just this whole quarantine thing. It's just been so hard. So that's why I've been writing and writing away.
Well, your opinion is wrong. I'm just kidding. So I guess I'm sorry, that was mean. Obviously, the PassionFruit Project, we talk about living your passions, bearing fruit, glorifying God. And would you say that 2020 has obviously been a crazy year, but would you say that it's been a year where you've felt like you've gotten closer to God? And if so, why?
Oh, absolutely. I feel as though because of these untrying times and how this kind of happened so abruptly and unexpectedly, it started off with a lot of scariness, sadness. It started off I was so confused because I remember back in March when all of this went down, I was commuting to Cal Lutheran for the first 2 years, and then I lived in the dorms, and I remember I would visit AJ and Kristen all the time. We would hang out, and I literally only got the experience for 2 months, and then I was pulled out with everybody else, and I was very negative about it at first, to be honest. But then once I looked back at everything I've written and new stuff I've written for songs, I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I mean, what am I waiting for? This is the perfect time to do it. I'm at home. I have all my gear here with me. My friends are a phone call away. I mean, what am I worrying about? And I just listened to my heart and listened to God. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do this for myself and start releasing just a single, because my goal is to release an EP and then eventually an album. But I wanted to start somewhere and see what I can do for my first release. And lo and behold, that's Hunger. And that's how I've been handling this whole quarantine. Is at first it started off a little bit sad, but then it ended up becoming a huge adjustment for the better. And I know that we're probably going to be in this for a little longer, but it is already getting better. I know that because it's cold outside, it's a little bit bad again. But as long as I have my music and my art and my video making, and because no one can really take that away from you, especially if, whether you're a rapper like AJ or a filmmaker like Kristen, you can't take anyone's passions away from them, which I think is really important to understand, just like knowledge too. And everything you learn always stays up here. So even if I lost this microphone, if my computer crashed, or God forbid I lost my hard drives, even though those are so important not to lose.
Or if your laptop falls and your hard drive breaks.
Yeah, like you said, then the one thing that is the most important is no one can take anything away from what you learned up here and what you have in here in your heart. Because that's how I was raised when I was younger, is that, no one can take away your education and no one can take away your talents. And to always, be humble about them and to collaborate with people and to be able to share them with the world. So I just thought I'd share that to all of you listeners out there. So
it's all about the knowledge. It always comes back to the cipher, the knowledge, right, Kristen?
Yes,
right.
It reminds me of HipHop class I just was in with Ricky. That was fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Alexa's now in on the knowledge. She knows about the cipher now.
Oh
yeah.
He was like, you should take my class again. I'm like, I'd be down to just show up. But we talk about the cipher, and it's, oh my God, he's really dope. He's a really awesome professor. So.
Yeah. And I'd say that our lives have definitely all changed a lot because of Madam Rona. And but it's been a lot of good things, like you said, for you getting commercial music out there. 2 songs actually so far. We didn't even mention Write for Each Other.
Oh yes, my collaboration.
With,
oh my God.
With Glide. His artist name is Just Glide, right? And then Instagram is Prod by Glide.
Yes, proudly made by Glide. Yes, that is his Instagram, and he's worked with many famous artists, and he has connections with studios in LA. So that's like one of the first things we're doing. Once this vaccine is out and once COVID is no more, I want to like see what it's like to be in a professional studio and see how the recording process works for records. Because I think that it's really important to really take advantage of the connections you have in college, outside of college, and especially in your passion. Whatever your passion is, you should always stay connected to the people who have, similar interests and, are just as passionate with it as you are. Because if they're not as passionate with it as you are, then what really is there? Because it will kind of make you feel like it's one-sided. Because, it's like putting together I don't know how to make the analogy. It's like putting a passion fruit, like your show, and mixing it with like gross, like a salty flavored meal. It's like it doesn't go together unless you like sweet and salty, which is okay. But I'm talking like a real like major difference. Like someone who works in like someone who's a surgeon and someone who's a musician. It doesn't really go together because personally I can't handle blood. It makes me really anxious. But I think that it's just what I'm trying to say is it's really important to like be very collaborative, be very open-minded, and just be willing to share your ideas and be willing to, switch them around, be willing to work with people, because that's what it's about, especially as young adults as we are. We're learning how to, live in this generation. And it's just kind of crazy because so much is going on with technology and the economy. And we just gotta, have each other's backs whenever needed, especially because I'm an only child. I don't have any like siblings. I have a half brother, but he's like 13 years older than me. He lives in another state. So that's why my friends are like my family to me. So it's very, very important to really recognize that. And if you have siblings, then that's awesome too. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that topic.
Cool. Well, your family does too. Oh, it's tilted. Aha, there we go.
You got the hearts going on now.
And so like when you look at all these different things that you do, production, singing, filmmaking, like what role do you see, like what role does your faith play in these different areas?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
I feel like
Actually, I might need to go on a rant after you answer this question, but I want to hear how you answer first, and then I might rant, and then I'll stop talking and let Kristen talk.
So how my faith projects through each of those passions,
or like, like how does it affect those passions?
Okay. I really want to start off by saying that every time I sing and perform, mainly performing, it's okay. When you're recording versus performing, it's a completely different experience. When you're recording, you're in a more comfortable, area. You're not really in front of anyone except if someone's there recording for you, and you're just really feeling the music in your headphones or on your monitors. But when you're performing, like in choir, it is a full-on experience. And I personally call it it's a very spiritual experience for me, because every time I hear all the voices around me, that's why virtual choir has been so hard for anyone who's in choir right now. Virtual choir is just not the same as in-person choir. It's a perfect example because of this pandemic, is that when you're in an actual room with all those voices, it feels like I'm already in heaven, if that makes sense. I don't know if that really makes sense. It feels like I can feel heaven and I can feel God within my heart, because when I sing and I hear those voices, it just feels so peaceful. And I've like tried not to cry. I remember when I sang at Carnegie Hall, I was literally like mouthing, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful in here." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, wait, they're going to see me saying this, or they're going to see me cry." But it was just such a beautiful experience. And even singing at the local chapel at our university, it's just so relaxing. And it's just, you can just feel the presence of God there. And when I video edit, it's a little different, but I feel as though I am using my talents, and it makes me feel content and happy when I do it. I don't feel any stress, even though when you video edit or audio edit or music editing, all that stuff, even though it's very tedious and very time you know, it takes a lot of time. You can ask AJ especially to edit stuff is very precise. It's stressful. You know, technology can sometimes be a pain. You know, Pro Tools, it always crashes on you. But if, you know, if you love what you do and if you feel happy even during those moments, then I feel like that's like a real, true, like spiritual, like thing that's going on, if that makes sense. It makes you feel very content, at peace, and that God is with you and that everything is okay, even if things are going a little bit like sideways, whether it's a technical issue or you're feeling a little anxious. I always get performance jitters before I perform, even if I know my song or my piece. I would perform a recital, I always would get nervous because it's that, you know, it's that anticipation to want to entertain the audience, to want to, you know, be good for them. And I'm sure you can kind of understand that also, because I know you guys dance and record yourselves dancing, or you dance in front of people. That's why we were talking about hip hop. But it's the same for singing too, and performing, and even behind the scenes work, like video editing, which I do back there, by the way. I have my video editor back here and I have my music set up here. So that's my answer.
No. And absolutely. Sorry, Kristen, I think you got muffled on my end, what you just said.
No, you're good.
You know, and I asked that question, and I think, you know, my perspective on this has evolved a little bit, and of course, like I'm gonna let Kristen ask this next question, but there's just this idea that sometimes is prevalent, and I think sometimes it's more so in the world of Christian hip hop, that, oh, you know, like whenever Christian hip hop artists collaborate with secular artists, you know, sometimes Christian rap fans get mad and they're like, oh, why is this person doing this? Don't they know that other person talks about all these things in their songs, or their music isn't glorifying to God, or all these miscellaneous things. And like, I found that, like, pretty much, like, even though I call myself a Christian rapper, but basically every person that I have collaborated with and worked with has probably someone who wouldn't self-identify as like a Christian artist. Like, we're artists that are Christian, and we make music, and we believe that what we do or what we create, and as we follow our passions, does bring glory to God, and can bless people and stuff, even if we're not necessarily giving a 3-point sermon about the gospel in that specific thing. And so I think, like, I really enjoyed, like, and I'm so excited for people to hear the stuff that we've been working on together, because they're definitely like, I think super meaningful and are going to bless a lot of people, even though one could argue they're not really, like, quote unquote Christian songs. That was just, oh my gosh, beautifully said. That I completely agree with you on that, because you're right. Like, not everybody does, you know, do that, but at the same time, we are really blessing people when we put our music out there. We're blessing them with that moment where they get to sit back and actually listen to something, or they can even be listening to it while they're like doing the dishes in the kitchen, or, you know, like, because people still, you know, life moves on. Yeah,
like,
people still do dishes. I'm just kidding. Yeah,
I don't know why that came up. It's just like an example. It sounds like something my mom loves to play music when she's exercising, or like playing the dishes. So I remember when Right for Each Other and Hunger were finally released, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm downloading it on my phone. I'm like, oh mom, thank you. And she would play it when she's on her treadmill, and she would play it when she's in the house cleaning, like, hey, look, it's your song. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so funny.
That is really funny.
But yeah, let me know, AJ, when you want me to reveal our little collaboration we've been working on. It's not released yet, but I'm really excited to talk about that too. It's really exciting.
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, Kristen, is it time for us to give them the exclusive, or should we wait a little bit longer? Should we let them?
Honestly, I just give them the exclusive because it won't make sense otherwise. I'm telling you that from a continuity point of view, my filming point of view.
Continuity. This is why we need Kristen. She makes sure that I don't make weird decisions.
True.
I think you're okay. So Lexi Noelle and I have so I originally, I think I've told you this before, but there was a song that I was working on, and I went through two different people that were supposed to be the featured artists on this song, and then I was showing it to you, and I think I was telling you like, man, I cannot believe that I cannot get a singer for this song, and you were like, oh, this is so good, I want it, like, let me on that. You know, and I literally was just like, oh, okay, well, I mean, here's some time codes and whatnot of like what, just play around and do whatever you want to do.
Literally, yeah.
And it's definitely, if everything goes right, the song is supposed to come out in February of 2021. It's called Happier, by me, AJ for short, featuring Lexi Noelle. And we've it's gone through a couple of different stages, but we're working on getting it to its final stages soon.
I'm very excited for that. Oh my goodness.
And then on the flip side, you've also got a song featuring me, so I guess tell people about that one a little bit.
Yeah, of course. It is. So the title is in all caps. The title is ANXTY, but that is like a short version of Anxiety. The song is called Anxiety. And what's really, what I wanted to share, and which is really funny, is AJ was making Happier when he was still like a student, and then I started making Anxiety this semester because now he's graduated. I'm the student, and now I'm going through the same process he went through our university to make a song. But what we both plan to do with these songs is to keep fine-tuning them, to keep making them perfect for release. Because even though it was originally for a class, what I believe you need to do for like music is to really just make sure that everything sounds great and that it's perfect. And that's why it's taking a while for both of them to come out. But we promise you it'll be worth the wait for Happier and Anxiety. So Anxiety is my song, that's AJ featured on it, and then I'm featured in AJ's song called Happier. And they both sound really dope so far. And Kristen, we'll send you the links to both. I think you've heard Happier. I'm not sure if you have.
I've it's actually really funny about this. Actually, speaking of songs, sometimes it's just really, I think this is really sweet because I feel like I'm like hearing this. AJ will sometimes just start sending me emails, or he'll just start telling me, he's like, hey, like, tell me what you think of this. And it's interesting because actually, like, it's weird. I think of music in a different way because of filmmaking. Sometimes I'm more on the musical composition side. Right. And so I will hear things, and sometimes when I tell AJ, it's not really coming from like, I'm also an artist. I'm just coming more from like like maybe this bass is missing, or maybe this underlying, there could be a layer of this track in there. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, but it's also funny because sometimes I'm like, oh, this is really good. Like AJ's like, when it'll come out, he'll be like, oh, well, I'm working on this song right now. So
that's normally how. No, if I were to say to y'all how many songs I'm working on right now, I have like a handful. I probably have 10 songs right now that are in the works, but just unfinished because they're ideas that are started, but I have priorities. Like, I have a part-time job. I'm finishing up. Well, I just finished up this semester. That's the thing. Like, when it comes to music, what I love about it is you can really do it anytime you want, but you got to make sure that you aren't, missing like your bills you have to pay or anything. And that's why it's been kind of slow lately, but I'm just really excited to use this time over winter and the following semester and the summer to release more music, and for AJ to release more music as well. Cause I know that since like we've been all going through a transition, I know AJ just moved closer to me, even though like we went to school together. He was commuting from really far away, so now he's like really close, which is really, really awesome. So I'm like, yes.
Yeah. And with like the music that's coming in the future, obviously my song Happier, it's not the most deep song in the world. It's about relationships and stuff. But and you can share like however much or as little as you want, but this song Anxiety is something that means a lot to you. Do you want to kind of share why?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. So ever since, so around the same time I grew up with, my talents such as video editing, singing, something I grew up with that's more of a challenge is actually anxiety. So dealing with anxiety is like dealing with a monster, I would say, it's kind of a fantasy way of saying it because monsters are like from fantasy stories, but it really is a great way to really describe it. And so hunger and anxiety, hunger's more about like a bad relationship, but I also incorporated anxiety in there on purpose because it kind of defines me in a way, but I try not to define anxiety in a negative way. I try to define it in a very artistic way, and that, it's okay that I have it. I'm just going to explain to you what it means. And that's what anxiety, the actual song, means, because and AJ wrote an amazing verse for his feature, and when I describe anxiety, it reminds me of like someone running away from a like monster that's trying to eat you. It's just really it's a struggle. It's really deep stuff. But I feel like the easiest way for me to talk about deep stuff is through my art and through my music, through my voice and through my videos. Same as how Kristen is able to express herself, and AJ, you're able to express yourself through your rapping or your dancing and through your films. It's all of these, things relate to, having a voice and really speaking a deep message, since it's really kind of hard to just flat out say, hey, I have this issue going on in my life. It's very personal. It's very, it's much more like deep if you're able to express it artistically, because not only are you able to get your feelings out, but you're able to relate to other people who also have the same problems. So that's how anxiety came to be. Anxiety was also written around the same time as hunger, which was like last year. And I have some stuff I've been writing about quarantine and COVID that aren't even like, I haven't recorded anything yet because, I've been wanting to get those out first. So I thought that was just really intriguing, that it's really intriguing to be able to talk about deep stuff, but through, your passion, if that makes sense, because it's not really easy to talk about it, face first. It's very hard for a lot of people to do that, especially myself. I'm a very open person, so I don't mind talking about it, but I would much rather do it through my art and my singing, because, why not?
Yeah, no, for sure. This is a question I kind of have. I'm just like thought of it on top of my head kind of, and you kind of went to that sort of direction, so I didn't even try. This was like way before when AJ said, I'm gonna have a rant. So kind of like
oh, that was a while ago.
So my question for you kind of would be is what challenges have you had specifically in quarantine, but you can even say just maybe in music that you've done in the past, what challenges have you had, and how have you had God come for when those challenges have happened?
Like, how have I evolved from the challenges? Sorry, you cut out a little.
Yeah, no worries. Just kind of how, like what you've done, kind of what challenges have brought upon, even during this time, and just kind of what you've done and kind of how God's kind of led through, or kind of follow through, I guess is the word. I don't know if any of that made sense, but.
No, I totally get you. I think a good way to start with this question is the fact that this is going to be random, but it has to do with it. When I released Hunger, I really, really wanted to release a music video with it. But the thing is, we're in a pandemic, and it's really hard to film with people, like with a group of people in a certain set. You just really got to stay hunkered down and stay home during this time, which really is unfortunate. And right. I remember when we first went on our first lockdown, when it first happened, how I was having a ton of, anxiety, and I was really anxious about how I was going to even get through school. So I would say a challenge was really transitioning to online school, and everything with studio related for music editing is all at home. So it was really hard to learn everything. So literally, as one of our professors, his name is Benny, he basically was saying, this whole semester we're going to learn everything in the box, quote unquote. In the box means in our interface. AJ has an interface, I have an interface. Any one really deeply involved in music production has an interface of some sort. And because like, it's just, oh my God, it's just so hard to learn when you're not in person, because you don't get that hands-on experience with mixing a song. You don't get to press the buttons, you know, it's all on your little screen. And I remember at first I was very anxious on if I wanted to even continue the semester or take time off. And I was thinking, well, if I take time off, I'd be able to make more music. But at the same time, it really wasn't a good choice for me at the time, because it would have put me more behind for graduating college. And so what I did was I powered through. I said prayers. I'm like, please, God, make sure that I like get through the semester fine, even though it's going to be really tough being online. I'll use my music, you know, as a way to help calm me down. And there you go. That's how that's when I really decided, hey, I'm going to start releasing stuff, even though I've been really busy and trying to get used to online school, because I've never been homeschooled before in my life. I've never had to take a class online before. I'm so used to just walking in a classroom and have the teacher be right there and sitting down in your seat. But literally, as we talked about earlier, it really changed my life. This year's was really impactful. I just turned 21 this year. I had a quarantine Zoom birthday party. I didn't like go out or anything. This was back in April. And basically I just had to use my passions, feel I had to like listen to my heart and really tell myself over and over again that it was going to be okay, that even though this is going to be a long, you know, process of getting through COVID, it's not going to be forever. It's just a temporary normal until we're able to really, you know, get back to where we were. And I think that after this pandemic, everyone's going to really appreciate the little things so much more. I mean, I've always been appreciative of the little things. Like, you know what I miss, guys? I miss going to the movies, because, you know, you get to sit down and have that experience. Because especially you loving film and me loving film, and I feel like a lot of people love movies. I mean, who doesn't like movies?
Right.
I'd be crazy if you don't like movies, but it's just I miss being able to listen to, you know, like the ambient sounds in a movie theater, and to be able to really to sing in choir. As I said, I really miss being able to hear everyone's voices next to me, not just through my monitors. Like literally our choir rehearsal is, you're all muted and you only hear the piano, but at the same time it's still beautiful because you still get to sing. And you really, it's more like, I feel like this pandemic is a very self-reflective experience for every single person out there. Like, I don't think I've ever done this much self-reflecting, like, ever. It's kind of like, it's not really a retreat, because it's the opposite of retreat. If you're like in lockdown, you can't go anywhere. But I think of it as, I feel like God is giving everybody their own personal retreat to really be able to see, like, you know, like figure out, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Especially people our age. How do you want to, like, you know, start, you know, your lives, like, you know, how you're looking for an internship, for example, or if you're, okay, like, how am I going to, you know, manage a job in a pandemic? Like, can I do something online, or is there like a place that works for me? You're constantly asking yourself questions, which I don't think is a bad thing, unless you are able to, you know, function and be able to get through all those things, like in a self-reflective way, because you're basically talking to yourself when you're like self-reflecting, but it's a good way. And that's how I also write my songs, is I'll sometimes just be like, okay, how are you feeling right now? Well, I feel like this, and I'll pull it. I literally write all of my songs in my phone under Lexi Noelle. You can see all of these songs I've written, because sometimes I just don't have time to grab the pen or the paper, but I've written songs on paper too, but I also like to sketch. I feel like that's a really good way of self-reflecting, and it's a very spiritual experience as well, because you're able to just, it's kind of meditative, if that makes sense. You can self-reflect in meditative ways, spiritual ways, you can pray. I'm just very, very versatile when it comes to self-reflection. So I just thought I'd share that with our listeners. So.
Yeah. No, totally. I totally got that. No,
Yeah,
you were saying, you were giving all the feels. I was feeling like everything up to the goosebumps in my arms. So thank you. I appreciate that, Lexi. So yeah, no, I would say that, you know, in this time, you really have just been like self-reflective and just kind of, you know, and I know you too. And it's interesting because I know you as well as just on a personal level, and also more than just, you know, an artistic level, you know, and I think that's something too, like, I think that's something I really haven't. I'm starting to see more with artists coming. I especially think this year. I'm gonna really say that because I think you kind of are your intermixing, which is so nice. This is what I'm also seeing with film and TV too. Is you're kind of like you said, you can go home, you can be anywhere, and you can do music like that. And also, it's interesting you brought up with film, and this is also true, is that, you know, it is harder to do things on a location and do stuff like that in 6 feet. And I would know because I've had a lot of struggles in that myself, but totally separate conversation on that. Yeah. But yeah, no, I really appreciate especially because of the like anxiety, you know, your health is not, you know, it's not indicative of who you are. And I think Jesus always knows that, like, no matter where we're at, like this year has been a lot. And I know we just had a series, AJ knows about this. We just had a series on budgeting and money and just all that stuff. And I think that's, like you said, it's been like, you kind of just have seen, like, you've had more time to retreat and more time to see, like, even things you've done before, you're noticing them a lot more because there's just much more time. And like you said, it's more of an interface. So I thought that was really cool you said that. So yeah.
Thank you. No, yeah. I'm even when I say I'm an artist, I mean I'm an artist. I talk like an artist. I will give you analogies that like involve like visual, like I'm a very visual person, so that's why I say, hey, imagine this, and I'll, like, you know, use my hand gestures like I always do. That's what I mean by self-reflective, like, especially because we're on this Zoom, I'm able to kind of see myself and see you guys on the computer.
It's true.
Like,
it's true.
Yeah.
You can't see yourself. So I'm sure people like, so everyone's only gonna see like the three images on screen of us, but on the Zoom right now, it's it's like there's 5 squares on screen.
Yeah, like there's a lot of squares going, the boxes here going on.
Because we're using OBS instead of we're leveling up. We're leveling up.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I love that.
Know, and you know, I think what's really valuable also, and like in what you're saying, is I think these tough moments, we have to let them push us closer to the Father, and not use them as like, oh, well, you know what? There's a pandemic, so I'm just gonna. And again, like everyone does think like this would have been okay. This would have been an okay response maybe back in March or April, but like, oh, well, it's a pandemic, so I'm just gonna sit on my couch and eat Cheetos, you know, and play video games, unless you love video games. And I'm not going to go after my dreams because there's no shows right now. I know I saw a lot of artists make money through shows, but you can't do that. I think when times get tough, you could retreat into yourself, or you could retreat and go to God. And like when I look at the life of Jesus, I think it's cool that he didn't just go out there and do a bunch of cool stuff. He would sometimes early in the morning, he would go, and people would say he would retreat to lonely places, like just where he'd be by himself. You know, he'd have his own personal quarantine, and just talk to God, the Father, about, well, I mean, no, we don't know what they talked about, but probably about just whatever he needed for that day. You know, and I think we're called to do the same, especially in a time like this, because perhaps what God needs for Lexi Noelle and for Kristen Case to do in 2021, he needs to have that time with you in 2020.
Yeah.
To launch you into it.
That is, wow. Beautifully said.
And I am also as well. I mean, I'm always wowed, but that just was like a different level tonight.
No, I love this. I love this, like, I love how like the three of us are like bouncing off each other here, because it makes a lot of sense. Like the message that, you know, we're trying to deliver to our listeners here is to really know that like the journey's not over just because we're, you know, in a temporary lockdown, and just because we're very, very, very limited right now doesn't mean you can't do something for yourself. I mean, I can't tell you how many times my mom is watching the television and she's like, oh my gosh, look, I mean, it's so cool that these people are still, you know, like putting on TV shows, even though it's on Zoom and it's not the same. You know, life keeps moving on, and you gotta, you know, trust that God and faith and like everything will just take you there even though it's kind of scary right now, and it's a little bit like, well, I feel like there's nothing we can do, or like, it's a little bit limited. Well, it's true, we're limited, but we're really not limited when it comes to our passions and who we are. And like, it's more of like a soul kind of deal. Like, your soul is never really trapped. You may be physically trapped in your house or wherever, but your passions and your soul is never really trapped. It's always there, and it's always fighting. It's always working hard. It's always being the best it can be. At least that's what I feel. I don't know if that made sense. It's a very deep understanding, and I feel like, again, going back to how quarantine has really affected artists and even students in general. Like, we all were students once. I'm still a student, but and Kristen, you're almost graduated. Congratulations, you're almost there.
Weird. Yeah, I'm in a weirdo spot. There's some other announcements and news about me, but for the sake of it, for our final episode, I'm gonna tell you guys all then. Yep. So you're gonna have to wait.
But so yeah, no, I just think that's really important to realize that no matter like what you're doing or who you are, whether you're like a little younger, our age, or a little older, it's important to just take that time to really think about, hey, you know what? Everything's going to be okay. Just focus on doing what you love. Make sure you're obviously like taking care of your responsibilities, pay your bills on time.
Pay your bills on time. That's right.
Sleep. Get enough sleep.
Do for you.
That's true. Oh, man. Usually the final question we would ask is what advice, so to speak, you would give to someone who's in a similar situation to you. Maybe they're younger, maybe they're just not as far along. If that, like, let's say there's what would you say now, like living through 2020, granted kind of current pandemic not necessarily withstanding, what kind of things would you maybe even say to you from a year ago? Because I know you from right now is very different from 2019. Lexi Noelle was a very different person. But like, what would you say to yourself, or even to someone listening who's maybe in a similar spot as to where you were a year ago or beforehand, thinking about they have passions and they want to bear fruit, they want to glorify God with their lives, not really sure if it's possible, or it's just the wheels aren't turning yet. What do you say to them?
Never, ever, ever give up. I've always been in spots where I felt like, oh, you know what? Like, example, I almost dropped out for the semester and I was going to just like take that time. But when you really feel like you just can't do anything, that's when you need God most. And that's when you need, your passions the most, and love and everything that you can think of that's healing the most. You just can't give up. As hard as like you can feel super down and super awful. Literally this time last year, I was going through a really terrible breakup. It was horrible. And I didn't think I would be talking on an amazing show with my amazing friends about a single I released, about getting through that. Basically, the advice I would give is take what you're going through now and turn it into something that you love instead of something you hate. So if you like to draw or paint, take that frustration and that feeling out on the paper, on the page. If you like to write poems, write a ton of poems. One of my best friends writes amazing poems, and now she is being featured on a bunch of poetry magazines and websites. Or I'm actually, this is a little side thing, I'm going to be singing one of her poems and releasing it as a song, which is really cool. Just make sure you stay in touch with your friends, even if you can't physically see them. There's always Zoom, there's always the FaceTime on the phone. And like, I know a lot of people who are actually separated from their families right now. So if you can get your mom or your dad to get a Skype or get something, I think there's another app that they have out now that talks about like how I don't know. I thought I saw Snoop Dogg on a commercial talking about like a video chatting application. I don't know what it's called. I apologize. But just make sure you take the time to, be close with your family, even if they're far away. Make sure you video chat them. Make sure you take care of yourself. It's good to, it's easy to be, because especially with anxiety, it's hard to sleep sometimes. So if you can't sleep, try listening to some relaxing music, I would say, or say a prayer. You can try to phone a friend if you're having I leaned on my friends so much last year, and they were like the best thing that's ever happened to me. So thank you so much to Kristen and AJ for helping me through that. And yeah,
when in doubt, call Kristen Case.
just don't forget about how, don't forget about the little things is another thing too. Is don't forget that, like, what are the little things that you love to do, even if you may not feel like doing them. Like, you're at home, like, you can bake cookies, make your soul happy, like eat some sweets or something. That's what I do. I love chocolate. It's really, really, oh my gosh, it helps with headaches too for me personally. But I would say, if you're an artist like myself, don't stop writing, keep writing songs. There's always something to sing about. You can sing about a microphone, you can sing about water, you can sing about someone's smile. That's what I love about songwriting and also video making, is your ideas are coming to life either through music or through like movies and film. So literally, oh my gosh, like, when is it not the best time to get Disney Plus? I have Disney Plus. My mom and I have Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix. Watch get inspired by some directors and some filmmakers too, and watch like how they do it. I mean, I have friends who are really into animation too, and if you really are into drawing, like, maybe consider interning. Like, if you're a little younger, you'll like have to finish high school, but after you're out of high school and you're in college, you can start looking for places you want to intern at. Like, oh, what if you can intern for Pixar, you can intern for like Universal. I'm literally going through that process now, and I'm way beyond my high school years, but really, it doesn't matter how old you are to really take care of yourself. You should always take care of yourself no matter how old you are. So
Nice. All right. Well, we are over time. However, you know what? It is still that time. Kristen, it's that time.
It's that time.
Man, it's time for the lightning round.
Yo.
oh my goodness, what's the lightning round?
Sound effects going off everywhere. That's one thing that we're gonna need for season 2, Kristen. Sound effects. Write that down. I'm just kidding.
Yes, I'm gonna write that down right now.
But Kristen, tell Alexa the rules of the lightning round.
So the rules of the lightning round is that with a timer, AJ is going to ask you a series of questions, and you have to answer them as fast as you possibly can.
Oh dear. Okay.
One second.
I don't know who the longest person is.
The time that you're trying to beat is Nelica with 23.46 seconds. Man, Nelica's a beast. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was. She just went she's like straight, like just.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
These are some pretty deep and philosophical questions. Like, you may need to pull on some of your strongest theological points to answer these. Okay.
Oh my goodness! I hope I do well.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
Favorite movie?
Baby Driver.
Favorite fast food?
Chick-fil-A.
What's your spirit animal?
Wolf.
Ever broken a bone?
Yes.
Any plans for world domination?
No.
Would you rather have hands for feet or feet for hands?
Hands for feet. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, you were killing it.
Yay!
The time you were trying to beat was 23.46 seconds. Your time was 24.49 seconds.
I'm a close second.
That's close.
Less than 1 second away from Nelica's record.
That's crazy, though.
That's crazy.
feel like no one's gotten that close that I've known.
It's true.
Damn.
Did we give Nelica the horse-sized dog question? I wonder if maybe that was an easier question than the hand.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did give her the horse-sized dog one. I remember afterwards. I feel like we said it so much that we were like, we're just gonna change up the question. So,
yeah. Which is probably why no one can beat her time. But man, hey, so Lexi Noelle, thank you so much for being on here. That's Lexi Noelle Music on Instagram. That's your primary social media, right?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And then Lexi Noelle on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Stitcher, Reverb, Tidal, Amazon HD Music, whatever you.
Platforms, yes.
Yes, on all the streaming platforms. Thank you so much for being here. My name is AJ Akpodiete, but you can call me AJ for short.
And my name is Kristen Case.
And thank you for listening to the PassionFruit Project, where we talk about we talked about living your passions,
Bearing fruit,
and glorifying God.